Daily stock market update on the 10th of December. UK, US and global macro with zero fluff. The US Federal Reserve, their central bank, is expected to cut interest rates 25 basis points. The real question is, what happens then if they do? What happens if they cut 50 basis points? What happens if they don't cut at all? This would be their third reduction of the year. Now, short-term moves and volatilities, I'm not concerned about. Whether there's a relief rally or a dip or the market goes sideways, more looking through that, the real bigger issue is, will they be signaling an end to interest rate cuts? That is the thing which has previously, in both 2018 and in 2022, resulted in significant stock market losses. Not what you'd expect. Most people expect stock market crashes come from the usual three sources. The balance sheet, the assets aren't worth what you thought, as in 2008. P&L account, i.e. you're not making any profits, as in the dot-com crash, or cash flow problems, as in COVID, shops are closed, you're not getting any cash. Interest rates really hits in many ways all of those, but most directly the P&L account. And that's why, because of the triple whammy, that's the key focus. And as goes America, so goes the rest of the world in many ways. Now, we'll be looking for any hints. Are the interest rate cuts about to slow down or stop? I don't think so. Markets seem buoyant. Profitability is still coming through. So nothing to worry about at the moment. Okay. That's the first point. Fixed income, bonds. The bond market is huge, far bigger than the equity market, and that's why that's what remains very important as well. Basically, how much is government paying for debt, which then affects how much you're paying in your mortgage interest and your credit card debt, and actually, generally, how much companies are paying for debt as well, the big companies. Now, at the moment, nothing too much to worry about. Borrowing costs are still roughly around 4.2%. A little bit high, but not going in the wrong direction at the moment. But again, we're watching for that. Not something you normally hear somebody talk about when it comes to the stock market, bond yields that often, but it is important, and it's one of those more complicated things which can affect stock price movements as well. Just turning to UK and Europe for a second before we go on to individual stocks. Equities holding steady in the UK and Europe, really waiting for America as well. The stock 600, by the way, the ETF on the stock 600, the banking ETF, is one that I do happen to hold and has been doing rather well and seems a good entry into Europe for the longer term as a specific sector-based selection. But like I said, most of this is really to do with the US market. So until that noise element gets out of the way, that elephant gets out of the room, all the other things will be less important. Then the market will find something else to be fixated on as well. Okay. The markets, based on bond yields, how much people are paying to borrow money, are betting on basically a cut, but also not too many cuts thereafter. So they don't think this is the bottom of the easing cycle. And one of the ways we find this out is by just looking at the various what are called yield curves across different timeframes. Okay, so what you would expect is some wobble in tech stocks because they tend to be quite interest rate sensitive, but not many other things. The reason it's important that it can impact the volatility of tech stocks, it'll lead some people to panic because they might see some tech stocks drop off, and tech stocks are weighted heavily in the indices like the S&P 500, which isn't an equally weighted one. It's based on the size of the companies. The bigger the company, the more say it has in the value of the index. And because of that, indices can look to drop on a headline figure and lead to panic, albeit you then realize, wait a minute, this is just a short-term tech wobble out of interest rate concerns and really nothing fundamental to do with the companies. And that's why most of the time, first instincts are wrong, and it's best not to panic on these things either. In terms of individual stocks, I'm just going to pull up the individual news wires on this. Now, Trump having a go at Europe made no impact on the stock market. Australia, social media ban, again, no impact on Europe. One of the reasons Trump's angry about Europe is, for instance, cutting emissions by 90% by 2040, there is a danger this continues to see European growth lag American growth, which is likely anyway, because it's generally been that way. One of the other big stories, Amazon's putting $35 billion into India. When I own Amazon stock, which I do, when I own Amazon stock, Microsoft has announced a similar amount of money going into India and AI, both of these companies investing in AI. When I invest in an Amazon or a Microsoft, I let their board of directors decide where money should be invested and where money should be made. So even though Amazon's listed in the US, the fact that it has a massive exposure to, call it a developing market like India, gives me that developing market exposure through the proxy of Amazon. They're managing my money like a fund manager by investing there. I don't second guess them. If I want to second guess them, I hit a button, which is the exit key, and I'm out of the stock. Now, you've got an exchange trade fund like INDA, I-N-D-A. If you've got all these billions going into the country and the country's growing at 8% per annum, should you look at a country-specific exchange trade fund? The only thing is, if you project forward, and you can do this on Google, you put in INDA chart, you project forward, you'll see that the growth rates for country-specific ETFs, even for a high-growth company like India, are not more than, say, 20% per annum. You might say, well, that's phenomenal, Alpesh, compared to what you're earning. Actually, when I come from the environment of investing in technology stocks, you can imagine why I don't get as excited as perhaps I should. Then the only other reason to have it is if it's a non-correlated diversifier, a dampener of volatility in my portfolio. To some extent, it has that benefit, but really I'm more concerned about the growth I might miss by not having more money in the higher growth companies than the dampening benefits of having it in, say, a country-specific exchange-traded fund. Some of the big movers, AppLovin was up 5%, Apollo Global Management up 6%, Newmont Corporation up 5%. AutoZone, which is one I own, was down 7%. I don't care. That is within the realms of its normal price movements and volatility. Similarly with JP Morgan, down 4%. I happen to own it. That is within its normal bounds of daily volatility. And neither of those falls enough for me to want to buy more. I only own the kind of companies which, if they're going to drop, I'd probably look to buy more, unless I'm looking at a trade. And so with those, I'm not perfectly happy with where they are, and those falls don't worry me. O'Reilly Automotive, by the way, down 3.9%, and I guess that goes alongside AutoZone. If you look at the stories around some of the stocks specifically, so if I look at AutoZone and the reasons behind the moves over there, there isn't something which makes me immediately think, right, I should worry. Some of the price targets have been lowered. They've got a buy from other banks. And this often happens. So don't be fooled by journalistic headlines saying price target lowered at one investment bank, because there'll be another which then issues a buy rating. Investment bank analysts tend to be overly optimistic. When I used to write for the Financial Times, I used to comment and get the data on this and show that actually they're invariably over optimistic. It's the nature of the job, whatever it is. I don't think they're out and out looking to be looking to deceive the markets, because obviously if you give a buy rating, you're more likely to win business than if you give a sell rating on a company. You're going to get somebody calling you up saying, hey, that's one of our companies in the investment banking division we work with, and you've just given them a sell rating. What the hell's wrong with you? So because they tend to be over optimistic, I tend to ignore them. And that tends to be pretty good advice. And you'll always find one giving a buy when another gives a sell, and invariably most of them give buys anyway. So you might think, well, surely sells are unusual and we should listen to those more. Sadly, the data doesn't confirm that hypothesis either. So like I said, with AutoZone, not really bothered, not really concerned about that side of things. In terms of the individual stock, the other individual stocks like Apple, have been very popular amongst retail crowds and on crowds and social media. Is there anything which would make you think exit if you're sitting on big profits? Well, here's some strategies if you're sitting on big profits in anything, whether it's a Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, or whatever else. it is. And it is, if it drops X%, sell Y. And you can work that out based on your risk appetite. Don't try and gamble by trying to foresee the future. Just say that, well, I'm never going to pick the tops and bottoms. But what I can do is if it drops 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, I will sell a certain percentage. The amount you'll sell will depend on your risk appetite and your regret aversion. So if you're very risk loving, you might as well, if it drops 20%, only then I'll consider selling. If you're very risk averse, you might as well, if it drops 5%, I'll sell sooner. That depends on your appetite. Minimizing regret is probably the best thing you can do when it comes to investing, as opposed to trying to maximize returns through trying to see through a time machine or a crystal ball. I hope you found all of that useful. I've got something to show you on screen. We've got a new tool to allow you to rate your pension. Go to campaignforamillion.com. And /tools, and you'll see this over there, and it'll give a grade for your pension and how much growth you're getting or not getting, A, B, C, D, E, or F. So it's a great little tool. Now, I have to ask you the same favor I always ask you at the end of these videos. If you like these daily updates, please save the video. That sends a signal to TikTok that, wow, okay, these are good. Please repost them to your own audience. Please forward them to your friends. Please save them onto your daily updates. There's a story onto your daily story. Similarly with YouTube, please like it. It doesn't really count for much like, but if you can comment, if you can forward and share on social media like Twitter, all of those things mean it goes to a bigger audience. The bigger the audience it goes to, and if I get more than 3,000 people watching it, then I know it's worthwhile, and I do another one. Okay, so I do something for free, you do something for free, and everybody in the community benefits because more people see these videos, which you presumably found useful as well. So we spread the love, we share the knowledge. So we're benefiting everybody. A bit of social good without costing anybody anything. So I hope you'll agree to do that. Don't forget the pension calculator on campaignforamillion.com /tools. Or if you want to keep it easy, you can't remember that, alpeshpatel.com. Just go there and it'll take you there anyway. Okay, thank you all very much, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.